What's up guys, it's DarkArmedDuelist and today doing a Sorcerer of Dark Magic deck profile. So I'm really excited to do this for you guys because this deck is an absolutely insane deck that is based around an old school boss monster, the Sorcerer of Dark Magic, which is a crazy powerful card that can lock down trap cards on the field. So without further ado guys, don't forget to like, comment, subscribe, hit the bell there so you can become part of the notification squad, and definitely check out the Patreon down in the description below for all those awesome rewards, like getting your name description every single video, getting assigned cards in the mail, and even getting to request a deck profile every single month you're a patron. So without further ado, let's get straight on into this. So first off, we're going to be playing 3 copies of Sorcerer of Dark Magic, which is such a cool old school boss monster that was actually summoned in the very first Yu-Gi-Oh movie. This card is absolutely insane with its effects that it cannot be normal summoned or set. It must be special summoned from your hand by tributing 2 level 6 or higher spellcaster type monsters. And it cannot be special summoned by other ways. Now this card has an insane effect that during either player's turn, when a trap card is activated, you can negate the activation, and if you do, destroy it, which is an absolutely insane effect that with one of our tech cards you can actually negate spell cards as well, making it so that your opponent can't activate spells or traps, which is absolutely insane. I then play 2 copies of Dark Magician. Dark Magician is a great 2-of to be able to summon to your side of the field and tribute for your Sorcerer of Dark Magic. Now I am just playing 2 copies of this card in the deck because I feel like 2 is totally fine in this particular build because you don't want to draw into too many copies of this card. I then play a single copy of Dark Magician Girl. Dark Magician Girl is a great 1-of in this deck. It is a great combo piece that you can summon out to your side of the field to be able to tribute for your copy of Sorcerer of Dark Magic. I then play 2 copies of Apprentice Illusion Magician. This card is a great 2-of that can actually special summon to your side of the field by just discarding a card. She also has a really awesome effect that when she's summoned to the field, you can add a Dark Magician from your deck to your hand. And she's also a hand trap, which is absolutely insane, that during damage calculation, if your other dark spellcaster type monster battles an opponent's monster, quick effect, you can send this card from your hand or face up from your field to the graveyard, and that monster you control gains 2,000 attack and defense points, which is really good because you can actually boost up your Sorcerer of Dark Magic to 5,200, which is absolutely insane that you can get that card that big. I then play 2 copies of Illusion of Chaos. This card is a really good 2-of in the deck because it can actually search Magician Soul, because it has a really good in-hand effect that you can reveal this card in your hand and add a Dark Magician or a non-ritual monster that mentions it from your deck to your hand, and then place any card from your hand on top of your deck, which is a great effect to be able to use with this card. I then play a single copy of Timaeus the United Dragon. This card comes in extremely handy to go into a bunch of different fusion monsters because this card is basically a walking polymerization. This card is a really good effect that you can send a spellcaster type monster or a spell trap card that mentions Dark Magician from your hand or face it from field to the graveyard, and then special summon this card from your hand, and then during your main phase you can fusion summon a fusion monster from your X-Shake using monsters from your hand or field as fusion material, including a spellcaster type monster, which is a really good effect to be able to go into all sorts of extremely powerful monsters. I then play 3 copies of Magician's Rod. This card is a great normal summon in the deck because it can search out all sorts of spells or traps that mention Dark Magician in their text, which is a really good effect. I then play 3 copies of Magician's Soul. Magician's Soul is an absolutely insane card that can actually help you draw in this deck or get a Dark Magician or Dark Magician Girl onto your side of the field to be able to tribute to summon out Sorcerer of Dark Magic. This card has a really good effect on field that you can send up to 2 spells and traps from your hand or your side of the field to the graveyard to draw that many cards, and if this card is in your hand, you can send a level 6 or higher spellcaster type monster from your deck to the grave to activate one of these effects. Either you special summon Magician's Soul, or you send this card to the graveyard and then special summon a Dark Magician or a Dark Magician Girl from your graveyard, which could have been the card that you sent to the graveyard to actually use this card's effect. I then play 3 copies of Gagaga Magician. Now you might be looking at this card and going, why are you playing Gagaga Magician? Well, this card comes in very handy in the deck as a normal summon because it has the ability that once per turn, you can declare a level between 1 and 8, and this card level becomes that level until the end phase of this turn, which is a really awesome effect to be able to use on this card to make this card become a level 6 or higher spellcaster type monster on your side of the field to tribute to summon out your Sorcerer of Dark Magic. I then play a small branded package in this deck, which is going to be 2 copies of Fallen of Albaz to be able to go with our branded fusion that we're playing later to summon out cards like Mirror Jade, which is just too good in this deck to be able to use. It's really insane how this card is basically like a copy of Super Poly on legs, which is absolutely insane. I then play a single copy of the Light Hex Seal fusion because it can help us step into a bunch of different fusion monsters when we use branded fusion in this deck. This card can help us step into a copy of Red Eye's Dark Dragoon, which is an absolutely insane card in this build. So that's it for the monsters, guys. Let's get into the spells. So for the spells, we're going to be playing a single copy of Secrets of Dark Magic, which is basically the polymerization of the deck, which is really insane. And then play a single copy of Magician's Salvation. This card is really good in the deck because it can actually search out your copy of Eternal Soul and put it on the field, which is a really awesome effect. And it also has the ability, if you normal or special summon a Dark Magician or a Dark Magician Girl, then you can target one of those monsters and special summon out the other one from your graveyard with a different name than that monster, which is a really awesome effect that basically if you summon Dark Magician, you can bring back your Dark Magician Girl to then tribute them both for Sorcerer of Dark Magic. And then play a single copy of Magicalized Fusion. This card is basically a miracle fusion for the deck that lets you use your monsters in the graveyard to fusion summon into a really powerful spellcaster type monster like Quintet Magician, which is an absolutely insane boss monster in this deck. And then play 2 copies of Preparation of Rites. Preparation of Rites searches out our copy of Illusion of Chaos directly from the deck, so then we can search out our Magician Soul from our deck to our hand off of Illusion of Chaos, essentially being the searcher for the searcher, which is really cool. And then play 2 copies of Dark Magical Circle. This card is basically like a pot of duality for the deck, but only for Dark Magician cards, because it has the ability that when this card is activated, you can look at the top 3 cards of your deck, and then reveal either a Dark Magician or a spell or trap that lists Dark Magician in its text among those cards and add it to your hand. And if a Dark Magician is normal or special summoned to your field, then you can target a card that your opponent controls and banish it, which is a really good effect to be able to just banish your opponent's cards. I then play our awesome tech card in this deck that's going to lock your opponent down from using spell cards, which is 3 copies of Secret Village of the Spellcaster. Now, comboed with your copy of Sorcerer of Dark Magic, your opponent's not going to be able to use trap cards or spell cards, which is absolutely insane unless they control a spellcaster type monster, because it has the ability, if only you control a spellcaster monster, your opponent cannot activate spell cards, and if you control no spellcaster monster, you cannot activate spell cards. But we're always going to control a spellcaster type monster in this deck, so it's really easy to lock down your opponent from using spells or traps. I then play 3 copies of Soul Servant. Soul Servant is a really good 3 of the deck to be able to use with this particular build because it has the ability to place 1 card on top of your deck from your hand, deck, or graveyard that is a Dark Magician or mentions Dark Magician or Dark Magician Girl, except another copy of this card. And then during your main phase, you can banish this card from the grave to draw cards equal to the number of Paladinium monsters, Dark Magician, or Dark Magician Girls with different names on the field or in the graveyard, which is really good because usually you're going to get at least a draw 1 off this card. I then play 3 copies of Branded Fusion. Branded Fusion is just really good in this deck. It's just too good not to play in this particular build because it lets you fusion summon using monsters from your deck, which is absolutely insane. And since we're pretty much only going for fusion monsters in this particular build, it's really easy to just activate this card and get a Mirror Jade or a Red Eye's Dark Dragoon onto your side of the field with this card, or even put another copy of a level 6 or higher spellcaster on your side of the field with this particular card to be able to tribute for Sorcerer of Dark Magic, which is really helpful for this particular build. So that's it for these spells, guys. Let's get into the traps. So for the traps, we're just going to be playing 2 traps, and that's going to be 2 copies of Eternal Soul. Eternal Soul is really good in this deck because every Dark Magician in your monster zone is unaffected by your opponent's card effects. And if this face-up card leaves the field, you destroy all monsters that you control, but it has a really good effect that once per turn, you can special summon a Dark Magician from your hand or graveyard, which is a really insane effect to be able to put level 6 or higher spellcasters on the field to then tribute for Sorcerer of Dark Magic. So that's it for the main deck, guys. let's get into the extra deck. So for the extra deck, we're going to be playing a single copy of Quintet Magician. You're always going to summon out this card with Magical Eyes Fusion. It's absolutely massive at 4,500 attack points, and it requires 5 spellcaster type monsters to summon this card. And if this card is fusion summoned using 5 spellcaster monsters with different names, you can destroy all cards that your opponent controls, and this face-up card cannot be tributed nor used as fusion material. Also, it cannot be destroyed by card effects. When you summon this card, usually you win. I then play a single copy of the Dark Magicians. It's super easy to summon and just a really good card overall that once per turn, if a spell or trap card is activated, except during the damage step, you can draw a card, and if it's a spell or trap card, you can set it to your field. If it's a trap or a quick play spell, you can activate it the same turn it was set. This card has a really good effect as well, that you can activate that card, but if this card is destroyed, you can special summon out both a Dark Magician and a Dark Magician Girl from your hand deck or graveyard, which is an awesome effect to be able to just summon out both those monsters that gives you to the 2 monsters you need to summon out the copy of Sorcerer of Dark Magic. I then play a single copy of Dark Magician the Dragon Knight. Now this card actually protects our back row, which is really good because it has the ability your opponent cannot target spells and traps you control with card effects, and also they cannot be destroyed by your opponent's card effects, which is a really good effect. Now this card also is treated as Dark Magician while on the field in the graveyard, so you can bring it back with your copy of Eternal Soul, which is absolutely amazing. I then play a single copy of Master of Chaos. This card is just a really good boss monster that we can actually summon to the field. Super easy with Illusion of Chaos and Dark Magician. I then play 2 copies of Red Eyes Dark Dragoon. This card is basically just a walking negate in the deck. It's really easy to summon in this particular build, and it's an absolutely insane card still to this day. I then play 2 copies of Mirror Jade. Mirror Jade is just super easy to summon off of Branded Fusion, so we do play this card as a 2-of in this deck because it's just too good not to play. I then play 2 copies of Albion. Albion is really good in this deck to be able to banish your cards from your graveyard to then get an additional fusion summon after this card is on the field, which is really nice to be able to banish cards like the Light Hex Seal Fusion and your copy of Fallen of Albaz to then make Red Eyes Dark Dragoon, because your copy of the Light Hex Seal Fusion can count as Dark Magician because it's a fusion substitute monster. And then play a single copy of Lubellion so we can summon out Mirror Jade extremely easily by just discarding a card from our hand and then shuffling the cards that are on that fusion monster back into the deck and then fusion summon that card. For example, with this card, you're going to be able to get this card, put it back in the extra deck, and Fallen of Albaz from the graveyard to be able to summon out your Mirror Jade, which is really cool. And then play a single copy of our Abyss Dragon. Abyss Dragon is basically Chimera Tech Fortress Dragon for Fallen of Albaz. I play a single copy of Ebon Illusion Magician. This card is a good 1-of in the deck because it can help you special summon out Dark Magician from the deck, which is a really awesome effect. Then play a single copy of Red Eyes Flare Metal Dragon because it does burn your opponent every time they breathe for 500, which is really cool. This card is my favorite XZ monster ever created, and it's just such a cool card overall. I then play a single copy of Dark the Dark Charmer Gloomy. This card is just a 1-of in the deck, just in case your opponent throws a copy of Ibly against you. This card is just really, really good overall as a 1-of to be able to link summon monsters that you don't want on your field. So that's it for the deck, guys. I hope you did enjoy it. It's a really fun deck to be able to play with. If you guys have never played with Sorcerer of Dark Magic, you definitely should. It's super nostalgic and really cool to actually base a deck around this card. I've been thinking about building this deck ever since I built my Blue Eye Shining deck on the channel, and I've always wanted to build a deck based around this card ever since I pulled this card when I went to go see in theaters the Yu-Gi-Oh! First movie, Pyramid of Light. So anyways, guys, this is DarkArmedDuelist. Don't forget to like, comment, subscribe, hit the bell there so you can become part of the notification squad, and we'll see you guys in the next video. See you later, guys.